My name is Bram. I'm a co-founder of 3D Hubs, an online platform connecting 3D printer owners with people who want to print. I'm originally from Amsterdam, as you can probably hear by the accent, but I recently moved to a 6th-floor walk-up in New York. So this group of young, optimistic people is actually running the world's largest production network, something that I started together with my co-founder Brian about 2 years ago. And it's growing so fast that since we took this picture last summer, the team has already doubled in size. So in about 20 minutes, I'd like to touch upon several topics. I'd like to talk about how 3D printing is a great technology to make consumer products. I'll talk about how these products I expect to disrupt many supply chains. Of course, I'll talk about the role that 3D Hubs plays in all this. Then we have an important milestone that we reached this month and I'd like to share. And hopefully by then you get excited about a platform, want to buy a 3D printer here at CES and join our community. And I'll share the insights into an extensive 3D print guide that we created based off over 2,000 reviews of printers. And I'd like to end with a few of the cool applications that are made on our platform. So I started my career in 3D printing about 6 years ago at a company called Freedom of Creation. And they were the first company in the world to use 3D printing to create consumer products. When they started back in the year 2000, 3D printing was really a technology that was basically only used in the industry to create prototypes. It was often referred to as rapid prototyping. And these guys said, no, 3D printing can be a great technology to create end consumer products. It offers really unique design freedom, and that's also displayed by this light design here. This unique shape you cannot make with any other technology than 3D printing. So I was a product manager there. I was responsible for the development of many new products, such as this light, but also a whole jewelry collection. And actually this necklace, although it seems to be made out of many different parts, actually comes out of the 3D printer as one piece. So it means you can make really complex products without any assembly. This was our most successful consumer product application, smartphone cases. And these are actually sold in many Apple stores around the world. And they prove that 3D printing can be used to manufacture consumer products on a very large scale. These headphones were designed by my co-founder Brian, who I worked with at Freedom of Creation. And they take your online music playlist and they use that to display your favorite artists in 3D. It's an example of so-called mass customization, where in potential you could 3D print millions of products, with each one being unique. So in 2011, Freedom of Creation got acquired by 3D Systems. And to me, this time, 2011, also felt like a turning point in the public knowledge about 3D printing. No longer did I have to explain to everyone that 3D printers typically don't work with paper and ink. And this pivotal change in the industry was due to the rapid development of 3D printers that could sit on your desktop. So basically, back then, these 3D printers are small machines that are much more visible to consumers than the large industrial ones that were hidden in factories. So now working for 3D Systems, I started launching their desktop 3D printers in Europe. And I saw the install base of 3D printers, thanks to this, quickly increasing. And it made me realize that it really brought closer what I consider to be the main promise of 3D printing. The promise that we can change the way how we manufacture and distribute products. By creating a future where we make products very close to the end user and on demand. And today most products are not made close to the end user, but often far away in Asia because labor is cheap there. But as I showed earlier, 3D printing often requires no assembly and therefore very little labor. So if cheap labor is no longer a reason to make products far away, why don't bring production very close to the customer? Eliminating the need for container ships sailing the world, creating a much more efficient model with less pollution, especially if you realize that container ships create more carbon emissions than all cars in the world combined. Also today, most products are not made on demand, but they're made in very large quantities. And this is because traditional production requires expensive molds, production lines, and these investments need to be earned back. So, what you see is that millions of products are being produced before even one is sold. 3D printers don't require production lines, molds. They allow you to make one product at a time, and thereby eliminating the need for large warehouses, stock, again creating a much more efficient model than the current manufacturing model we have. An estimated 30% of all products today is thrown away because it couldn't be sold. So several years ago, Brian and I were sitting in a bar, and we started thinking, how can we as individuals contribute to such a future where there's no more excess production and no long-distance shipping? So back then, you had several 3D print service providers, but they were often shipping from only one location. So if a customer would order from Australia, it would probably be shipped from North America or Europe. And that didn't really make sense to us. Knowing that the install base of 3D printers around the world was quickly increasing, why not create a network of 3D printers and always have products produced as close to the end user as possible? So that's what became 3D Hubs, an online platform connecting these 3D printer owners with people who want to print. We did a survey back then, and we learned that 3D printers are sitting idle on average 90% of the time. So what if you can unlock that idle time and bundle it all into one online platform? So 2 years ago, we quit our jobs at 3D Systems, and one of the first things that we did is create this video to share our vision on the future of production. So, as you can imagine, around the time we released this video, we shortly thought about pivoting 3D Hubs to a dating site. But luckily we didn't, because now 2 years later we're here on stage at CES. And this week we're also celebrating a very important milestone in our growth. This week our production network has exceeded over 10,000 locations, making us the world's largest and fastest growing network of 3D printers. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our community who makes this possible and helps us support to make this new future of production a reality. And together these 10,000 locations in 140 countries now provide over 1 billion people in the world with access to a 3D printer within 10 miles of their home. Even in Las Vegas, there's over 20 locations where you can have something made. So if you would order today, you would probably get it in before you leave the city, because our average delivery time is under 2 days. And so fast because often you can just pick up the product instead of have it shipped, and we have unprecedented 3D print capacity. We calculated that our network could 3D print the Statue of Liberty in under a week. So if you decide to test our platform and place an order, this screen capture shows how easy that could be. So this is our homepage. You browse for local 3D printers. You upload your STL file, which is the standard in the 3D print industry. We check it on printability. We calculate how much material is needed to print it. And based on that, we can provide a real-time price for all the 3D printing locations in your area. You can filter by customer ratings, by proximity, by materials, by quality. Once you've selected your location, you can choose if you want to have the part shipped or picked up. You can choose material, you can choose color. And from there, it's actually just a pretty regular e-commerce checkout process. So if, however, you decide not to place a print order but buy a 3D printer here at CES, I'll share the results. Sorry? I'll share the results of an investigation that we did into the quality of over 300 different printer models together with our community. And we did that because we were asked the question so often what printer people should buy that we really want to give a thorough and independent answer. So in our community really contributed enormously. So over 2,200 3D printer owners wrote a review of their printer and spent an estimated 335 hours on writing these reviews. So we divided the results in 5 different categories, and I'll show the top-rated printers for each of the categories. So the plug-and-play categories for people, who don't necessarily have a lot of technical knowledge and want to be up and printing fast. And the top-rated printer there is the Zortrax M200. Then if you're on a tight budget, the Printerbot Simple Metal might be a good option for you. It only costs $500 and was the best rated in this category. If you don't really like your partner and you rather spend your evenings in the garage assembling a 3D printer, then the DIY category is probably for you. The best rated printer here is the Rostock Max. If you want a nice mix between print quality, ease of use, and an active community, then the enthusiast category is probably for you, and the top-rated printer here is the Maker Gear M2. And then there's a resin category. This is a slightly different breed of printers. They work with UV-sensitive resin, and they allow you to make parts with a much higher level of detail. And the best-rated printer here was the Formlabs Form 1 Plus. So as you might have noticed, these 3D printers are all printers that sit on your desktop. While I must admit that the designs I showed at the beginning of my presentation were made on industrial printers, but the gap between these printers, I believe, is quickly decreasing. And I'll prove that by showing some of the products that are made on our platform using desktop 3D printers. So first of all, it's of course great for prototyping. With our delivery time of 2 days, you can make many design iterations and prototype it without spending a lot of time. So this is a prototype for a drone that cleans your house, very convenient. You can make a coffee grinder out of the white 3D printed parts and some standard components you can buy at your local DIY store. You can 3D print a keychain of our mascot called Marvin, who's now the most made thing on Thingiverse, the leading online design repository. And this was the first order ever placed on our platform. Around the time we quit our jobs, we got this order in. And it was made by the 13-year-old kid on the right, Ruben, who produced a GoPro camera case for his customer Ken on the left. And Ken, he could order a case on Amazon for $45 and wait a week to get it delivered because he lives in Europe or in Holland. And instead, he was creative and he decided to place an order with Ruben and got it printed the same day for $15, and even getting a demonstration of the 3D printer. So it's a whole different experience, and relating to disrupting supply chains, it might not be that far away. This is a puzzle collection designed by New York-based designer Fleet Hauer. Interior collection by Francis Bitonti. It also shows the complex geometries you can make, even with desktop printers. This is 3D Racers, a Kickstarter project we're currently supporting, and allows you to design your own RC car and then have it 3D printed on desktop printers. And this I consider to be the most successful use case of distributed manufacturing so far. A partnership that we started with a European smartphone manufacturer, Fairphone, a few months ago, who believes in our vision on production, and who decided to have all the cases that are ordered being 3D printed through our network. And since we started, over 4,000 cases have been produced across 200 locations. So next year I hope to be back at CES and show you many more of these use cases, which I believe will really change the way how we manufacture and distribute products. Thank you.